What is going on, everybody? Here with another edition of Prime Sports World, presenting you. This is the first episode this season of college basketball madness, and on the eve, 1 month away from March Madness, ladies and gentlemen. As I can feel it, I had to drop this episode here at midnight because it's literally on the month. I believe March Madness starts March 17th. We're about a few 3.5 weeks or 3 weeks and 6 days away from selection Sunday and conference championships, tournament championships. But before I start the show, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast here at Pine Sports World on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. In case you miss us, you can catch us on all streaming platforms where podcasts can be heard. I'll make sure to get this episode and the others up there sometime this weekend, as I am still uploading and backlogging all the previous episodes from this year on there. And we should be launching a website here soon. So you guys don't want to miss that hot content here. As you can, start to get your favorite articles from Prime Sports World here, keeping you up to date with the hottest content here on the net, baby. But anyways, doing this one solo tonight, just to test the waters. Now, I've been really big on the NBA this year, but I had to, get back to my roots. College basketball has been a really big, thing for me. Throughout my life. I grew up watching college basketball. I grew up, idolizing a lot of these guys. Sometimes they don't make it to the pros. Sometimes your favorite players make it to the pros and they don't do anything. Sometimes your favorite players make it to the pros and they become stars. And then some guys get forgotten. And that's just the beauty of college basketball, is that it's just that real passion of college athletics that you just don't quite get anywhere else. And we all know the tournament is just something else in itself. And when tournament time comes around, you see the emotion that comes out of some of these guys, or some of these kids. I like to call them guys, kids. They're kids to me, right? 18, 19, 20-year-olds. Shoot, the way them bank accounts looking, they ain't kids. But anyways, now these days, a whole different ballgame. That's neither here nor there. But man, college basketball has just been real important in my life as I, grew up to watch sports and love basketball and love, the NBA and love college. It starts at, the prep level as well. So, it's just, I'm glad to come back here and bring you this, this content here for college basketball once again. I know I said I was gonna, launch it probably about a month ago when the national championship happened. But that's neither here nor there. I'm bringing it to you now, and hopefully we can get Matt James, maybe Christian on here, and we can, start, talking a little bit more about basketball the next, 4 or 5 weeks as we start to get into the NCAA tournament within the next month. But I thought it was a perfect time to bring it here and launch the episode here around midnight here on the 17th. We got a lot to talk about here on college basketball madness, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll start with the midseason team, the Naismith Player of the Year midseason team. They come out with this every single year of, top, 30 guys or so. The top 30 guys or so, and put them on a team, top 30 guys in the nation, and put them on a team. And it's a real important thing for some of these guys. And a few names stand out here. We'll go off. I'll start off from the first name, Max Abness, right? Everybody knows him, the little guard who led the nation in scoring from Oral Roberts. Transfers to Texas. His last year of college availability took a little drop in scoring, obviously, with the step up into the Big 12. But I think he's averaging about 17 points a game this year. He's one of the catalysts for Texas. He's definitely a true scorer for that team. He's a firecracker from outside. And he's got Texas right there, right there in the thick of things of being in going into the tournament. I do believe that they will get their name called. There's no doubt about that. I think they're somewhat on the bubble a little bit, but with the month left of regular season basketball here left, Texas should be able. Texas should be able to get back into the thick of things. I believe they have a big game this weekend. We'll get to that later on in the show, ladies and gentlemen. Next guy, Armando Bacot, stayed an extra year there at North Carolina. He's a double machine. He's one of those guys I believe if he would have just came out early on in his career, he would have been a first round pick. He's kind of played his way out of that a little bit, but nonetheless, Armando Bacot, RJ Davis, who's his teammate, is also he leads the North Carolina in scoring. Shout out to Christian; he's a big North Carolina fan. He would love that brought up both of those guys. But Armando Bacot, nonetheless, is still one of the best college basketball players in the nation. Johnny Broome, this kid right here. I remember TJ talking about him last year when he really was an unknown commodity. Guy that's got extreme length. I think he's near 7 foot. He's one of Auburn's best players. He can shoot the three. He's got a silky smooth touch. He's definitely a guy that's going to be playing at the next level. He's one of the best players in the nation. Boo Buie, senior out of Albany, New York, leading the Northwestern Wildcats in points per game. I think he's a leading assist getter as well for Chris Collins' led team. So yeah, Boo Buie's another great player. There, I spoke about RJ Davis, Ronald Davis from Florida Atlantic. We kind of got familiar with Ronald Davis in Florida Atlantic last season as they made their tournament run all the way to the Final Four. But yeah, John L. Davis leads that team in points per game and rebounds. In field goal percentage, 3-point. I think he's shooting like 48% from 3-point land. Some absurd number. And John L. Davis is a guy that to watch out for towards tournament time. That Florida Atlantic team, when they get things going, I think I'll talk about them when I get to the AP top 25. But when that's a team that when they get it going a little bit, when they lock in defensively, they can really smother teams and get out and really get out and run on teams and lock them up. Hunter Dickinson, transfer from Michigan. We know what he can do. He makes the midseason team first year with Kansas, transfer from Kansas. Don't really see him on draft boards a lot. This is a very French-heavy NBA draft, European draft, as it has been in the last, godly. I mean, as many French players that are going into the first round of the NBA draft, they should win an Olympic medal soon. But you're looking at possibly 4 French players, international prospects being picked in the top 5 this season. But anyways, Hunter Dickinson was the first round pick at some point. It's another guy, stay in college a little too long. They start to break it down a little bit, but he's a guy that, is a double machine guy. He can shoot the three, he can stretch you out. Long, athletic guy. Hunter Dickinson's a true scorer down there in the post, inside, outside type of guy. Next guy, we're talking about inside, outside, Zach Edey. I mean, nobody is more efficient, I think, than Zach Edey. I mean, he's probably the number 1 player, probably the odds-on favorite to win the Naismith Player of the Year. We'll get to that later. But he's a guy, he's leading the league in free throw attempts. It's Purdue has guys that are, I think there's like 4 or 5 guys that are shooting over 40% from 3-point land. Zach Edey's the main reason for that. You throw him the ball inside the post, and Zach Edey's probably the most efficient scorers and passers outside the post. And he runs that for Matt Painter, that is just a well-oiled machine for Purdue. The big thing about Purdue is, they're, top 2 in the nation next to UConn. What are they going to do at tournament time? But that's neither here nor there. Zach Edey definitely is making this midseason team. Kyle Fulkowski from Duke, who has just, risen and upped his game, this year. He's on the midseason team. PJ Hall, another guy, from Clemson, one of the best ACC players in the conference. PJ Hall makes the midseason team as well. Dalton Knecht, if I'm pronouncing his name right, Knecht, from Tennessee. This guy is like, he talk about a guy. He's a senior, 6'6", got great size. Talk about a guy who's played himself, who was an unknown virtually. I wouldn't want to say unknown. People knew about him in the SEC, but this kid has literally played his way into probably the top 20 of the NBA draft on draft boards. With some folks, comparing him to Klay Thompson. I mean, he had a stretch of 6 games straight where he scored over 32 points per game. Dalton Knecht is a bona fide lethal shooter from outside, from long distance, and he can also get it done, off the dribble as well, off a screen. So he's definitely a monster out there in the SEC for Tennessee. Tyler Kolek, 2 years in a row, this kid has been the catalyst for Marquette, one of the best point guards in the nation, leads the team in points and assists per game and steals, and through 3-point percentage. I mean, he is a guy that's probably going to be playing at the next level. He's definitely, played his way into the first round with a stellar two years at Marquette, having them in the top 5, this year as well. It's a hell of a player. Next wave of guys, Tamin Lipsley from guard. This is the guy that probably you guys don't know too much about, but I mean, he's a guy that's leading Iowa State in points per game and assists per game, and I believe field goal percentage. He's a guy that without with Iowa State, without him, they wouldn't be where they're at, especially in the on the fringe of being a tournament team, a tournament level team, top 10 in the nation. So there's a team that has, high aspirations to make, to make a run in the tournament. And he's a big reason why. Caleb Love, transfer from North Carolina. Everybody knows who he is. He would have been a first-round pick possibly if he would have came out, but he transferred to Arizona, got great size. He's probably playing the best college basketball of his career for the Arizona Wildcats, as they're a top 5 team at 19-5. He has just been a 3-level scorer since the time he stepped on at the court at North Carolina, being a highly touted recruit, and nothing has changed going into Arizona. Antonio Reeves was another guy that probably a lot of guys don't know. Kevin McCullough, a guy that people pretty much know from Kansas, but Antonio Reeves, if you don't know, leads Kentucky in scoring. Makes the midseason team. Antonio Reeves is a young man that over 20 points per game for the University of Kentucky. That team is interesting. I can get to them. They are not. They are not the. How do I want to explain this? They are not the John Calipari teams of like the past, those stalwart type of teams. There's such a difference between. There's such a vast difference between how great they are offensively and how bad they are defensively. This is probably John Calipari's worst defensive Kentucky team, but it's probably one of his most efficient and better offensive Kentucky teams. And Antonio Reeves is a big part of that. But this is a Kentucky team that they can get out, they can run, but defensively they're in the bottom third of the nation. Baylor Shearman from Creighton, He's another guy, leads them in 3-point percentage, leads them in rebounds, leads them in points per game for Creighton. As Greg McDermott continues to have great team after great team at Creighton down there in Nebraska. Mark Sears, guard from Alabama. A lot of guys probably wouldn't know who he is. Second year in the system there for Alabama. But Mark Sears has stepped his game up this year, has Alabama playing really good basketball and in the top 15 so far this year. I'm surprised. Who am I surprised it's probably not on here? It's been playing well enough. Cody Williams, Colorado. He's a top 10 pick. Probably top 10 pick. That's Jalen Williams' little brother. I know his teammate here, KJ Simpson's on here from Colorado. I like Isaiah Stevens from Colorado State. He's on here. He's one of the best point guards, I think, in the nation. I think he's averaging, 15 and 7 or something like that. But his assist game is up. But he's leading them in points, assists, and steals per game. Isaiah Stevens has got Colorado State as a Mountain West player so far this year. Tyson Walker from Michigan State. He's another guy that senior for Coach Tom Izzo's team. I think they've won 6 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. The Michigan State Spartans, after being probably a fringe. Bubble team. They're definitely going to be, called on Selection Sunday. They've had some big wins in the last month or so. Tyson Walker is a big part of that, big part of the reason why Michigan State, has had a resurgence this season. Next, we have the College AP Top 25 here at College Basketball Madness. Here, number 1, the UConn Huskies. What can I say about the UConn Huskies, man? This team, national champion. They come back and they reload. They've had, they've had some up and down seasons in terms of injuries from their, highly touted recruiting Stefan Castle. Also had injuries to Donovan Clingan. But this team is still elite defensively. This team is still, they've given up over 65 points just twice after giving up, 65 points on 4 occasions prior to their 10-game win streak. They've also, they're top 10 in offensive efficiency and top 10 in defensive efficiency. So, this is the number 1 team for a reason. Moving on to the Purdue Boilermakers coming here at number 10. Look, 3 straight seasons, they've lost the double-digit season NCAA tournament. They're looking to break that curse pretty much. There for Purdue. But, this team has, they've beaten, countless top 25 teams: Arizona, Alabama, Wisconsin, Marquette, Tennessee, Illinois, Maryland, Northwestern, Xavier. They have beaten, some of the best teams in the nation this season. They've only lost, they only have losses on the road in the Big Ten. I believe one of them was against Nebraska. But yeah, this is a hell of a team, top 15 defense in the nation. One of the best and most efficient offensive in the nation. Like I said, led by Zach Edey. They have shooters all over the court. They have guys, 4 guys that are shooting over 40% from deep. It's pretty damn amazing. They got guys that are just highly skilled, making shots off of Zach Edey's post play. So Purdue is definitely a bona fide number 1 and number 2. And I honestly, when I look at the nation and I look at the pool, I say this. I say, it's Purdue, it's UConn, and then it's pretty much it's just like everybody else, right? And it might change. That's going to change tournament time. I think that Marquette could make a really nice turnaround run. The way Houston plays defense can make a turnaround run. And speaking of Houston, that's our number 3 team here in the nation. This is, look, one of the better defensive teams. I know they got just steamrolled by Kansas, from the field, allowing 70%. But this is one of the best defenses in the nation. They, are one of the best rebounding teams in the nation. They, are great at getting second shot opportunities. Their on-ball defense is amazing. And they're led by one of the midseason tournament guys in Jamal Sheed, who's probably the best defensive point guard in the nation. So, I mean, this is a hell of a team that I think that can probably go a far way, in the tournament. And then at number 4, you got the Arizona Wildcats, who like I said, was led by Caleb Love. This is a team that they can go deep. I think they can be a Final Four team, in the nation. So, watch out for the Arizona Wildcats. With number 5. At number 4, we got the Purdue. We got the Marquette Golden Eagles here. And I honestly believe that, led by Tyler Kolek, I think this Marquette team can go far. Like I said, man, I mean, they're undersized, but they force a lot of turnovers, right? So they're forcing, at least 16 turnovers per game, which is top 20 in the nation, 13th in the nation to be exact. And, they're making opponents, cough up the ball pretty much on 23% of their possessions, which is top 10 in the nation. 6 different players on this team have 20 or more steals. So, this is a team that is, on-ball defenses. Reminds me of those Villanova teams from, back in the day with, Kyle Lowry and Randy Foye and those guys. Just how Jay Wright used to have those Villanova teams. They're undersized, but their guard play was just always good. That's what that Marquette team reminds me of. At number 6, we got the Kansas Jayhawks. Like I said, man, this Kansas team, is a hell of a team, man, led by, Kevin McCullough. They have 4 guys that lead the Big 12 in 4 different categories, right? So they have Kevin McCullough, who leads the Big 12 in scoring. They have Hunter Dickinson, who leads them in rebounding, DeJuan Harris in assists, and KJ Adams in field goal percentage. And then, you add, a super sensational diaper dandy and freshman Johnny Furphy, who's, pretty much have been, a godsend for this team. Has Kansas playing really good basketball this season. Number 7, North Carolina, talked about them a little bit. North Carolina, led by Armando Bacot, led by RJ Davis. They got shooters across the board: RJ Davis, Harrison Ingram, Cormac Ryan. These guys are all are all sensational scorers, especially RJ Davis. North Carolina's in the top 10. Round at the top 10, we got number 8 Tennessee, number 9 Duke, and top 10 number 10 Iowa State, who moves up 4 slots. Out of those top 10 teams, though, I think if I'm gonna pick a team that's gonna contend with UConn, I'm really looking at that Arizona team. I do believe that Marquette can go far. I like Houston's on-ball defense, but some about North Carolina, I do believe that they got the shooters, they got the size, they got the toughness. But I mean, I think UConn and Purdue are just levels ahead of the competition when it comes down to it. So yeah, at number 11, we got South Carolina. The South Carolina Gamecocks. This team's, really interesting. As I like to say, man, one of the better teams in the SEC, one of the best teams in the SEC, in my opinion. They were actually, finished to, they were actually picked in the preseason to finish dead last in the SEC. And, they're one of the best teams in the SEC. They beat Arkansas, Missouri, Kentucky, Ole Miss, They got road wins against Georgia, Tennessee, some really good wins under the resume for the South Carolina Gamecocks. And Michi Johnson leads them in scoring with 14 points per game. They got two sharpshooters that are shooting over 40% from the arc, and Talon Cooper, Miles Stud. So this is they're number 11 in the AP poll, highest since 1997, December 1997, when they're number 11 to close out that year. So yeah, South Carolina, is definitely 21-3. They move up 4 slots. At number 12, we got the Baylor Bears, another team that just plays hard, plays great defense, on-ball defense, similar to how Houston plays, and you'll see like in the Big 12. I mean, the Big 12 has great teams. I mean, they're neck and neck. How I like to say, they're neck and neck with the Big 10 when it comes to. I would say they're probably better than the Big 10 when it comes to the basketball play. They're one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the nation. Shooting over 40%. In Big 12 play, they've struggled a little bit this season, but I mean, they are like I said, defensively. They mix it up, man. They play a little zone there, and they really can get after it. Jacoby Walters, one of the best freshmen in the nation, great shooter. You got Langston Love, Ray J. Dennis, all great players for Baylor. I think this is a team that definitely has some upside when it comes down to tournament time. As they can play defense, they can mix it up, they can frustrate teams, and they can make their outside shots here. At number 13, we got the Auburn Tigers. Look, I think that when it comes down to it, Johnny Broome, it's all gonna dictate and hinge. This is one of the best defensive teams in the nation. But sometimes they lack focus, but this could be one of the better teams. If I am going to pick another team that could shock some, like a UConn, maybe if they do make it to like the Sweet 16 or the, Elite 8 or whatever. Auburn is a team that's got size, they got shooting. With Johnny Broome and Dylan Cardwell, protecting the rim, you got Aiden Callaway, Trey Donaldson, Katie Johnson, all of them, can, get their own. For their on-ball defense is great. They're one of the best defensive teams in the nation. It's all about focus for them. I think if this team is 100% focused, honestly, this team could be the best team in the nation, in my opinion. So watch out for the Auburn Tigers. At number 14, we got the Illinois Fighting Illini, dropping 4 slots. I know they had some trouble early on in the season, with one of their best players, being out, due to some legal issues. Terrence Shannon Jr. is averaging over 20 points per game. But since he's been reinstated, they played very well basketball, very good basketball. 21 points per game, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Shooting over 40% from the field, shooting over 40% from 3 and from the field as well. Coleman Hawkins, in his absence, was playing really, really good basketball as well. He leads the team in rebounding, blocks, and steals. So I think the Fighting Illini are one of the better teams in the nation when they have all the chips on the table. At number 15, we got the Alabama Crimson Tide. 16, we got the Dayton Flyers. Dayton is another good team that, honestly, they're one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the nation. Shooting, 40%, shooting about 39% from the field, from 3-point land. They got guys. They have 4 guys that have hit 30 or more threes on their team. DeRon Holmes is a defensive stalwart for their team. He's one of the best offensive players, most efficient offensive players on offense and defense as well, averaging over 19 points per game, just a little under 8 rebounds, and also he's averaging 8 free throws per game. They're actually one of the better passing teams, probably if not the best passing team in the nation. They got 5 players with 35 or more assists, with 2 of them, Javon Bennett, Kobe Elvis, each with 80 assists on the season. They don't commit a lot of fouls. They don't commit a lot of turnovers. The one thing that they don't do is, they don't get a lot of, those extra possessions when they do, force turnovers or they're not the greatest offensive rebounding team. But they're definitely, nonetheless, I think the Dayton Flyers are a threat when it comes down to tournament play. Creighton at number 17. Like I said, Greg McDermott has that team playing very good basketball here this season. Again, number 18, we got the St. Mary's Gales moving up 8 slots. We already know, St. Mary's is always going to bring it with the guard play. They are a team that they're a really good defensive team. Limiting their opponents to 43% from the field. Great defense, great defense, and they have good rebounding as well. So that's what you need in order to have success. Don't know how far they will go. This team kind of lacks playmakers on this team, but nonetheless, I do think that St. Mary's Gales can make a run for it. At number 19, we got the BYU Cougars. First season in the Big 12. I think they've done well. I mean, this is one of the better shooting teams in the nation, 3-point shooting teams in the nation. I think they're top 5 in 3-point shooting. So the BYU Cougars, top 20 team. Then at number 20, we got the Wisconsin Badgers here. Moving down 9 slots. Haven't really, Wisconsin hasn't really, played well in the last, month or so. Last, couple weeks or so, which is, for the move down. But I think, with a month left in the season, there's a team that can, get back to it. They lost to Arizona, got blown out by Arizona. They lost to Providence, lost to Penn State, lost to an 8-win Michigan team. This Wisconsin team, lost to Rutgers. This Wisconsin team just has some bad losses on the resume. Nonetheless, they're still a top 20 team, led by AJ Storr, who's a hell of a player, St. John's transfer, 3-level scorer. And then you have, really good 3-point shooters and, Stephen Crowd, Chucky Hepburn, Tyler Wall is also, a good player for them as well. I think that Wisconsin, when they're focused, when everything's clicking, they're playing defense, they're rebounding, their offense is good enough to win them basketball games against elite teams. It's just all about focus for them. When they're not, getting their defensive stops, this team, tends to kind of crumble a little bit. At number 21, we got the Virginia Cavaliers. At 22, Kentucky. I spoke on them a little bit earlier. The Kentucky Wildcats, man, they're one of the better offensive teams, but one of the worst defensive teams this year. Rob Dillingham's a straight bucket for them. Kentucky's a hell of a team. And also, like I said, I mentioned, there are other players that are on the midseason tournament team as well. Kentucky's just the team that is just, when it comes down to it, they're just not great defensively. Offensively, they're like I said, they're one of the best teams, in the nation. They've lost 3 straight games in Rupp Arena. That's a first in program history. Lost 4 of its past 6, heading into their game against Ole Miss. But I think that this team is one of those teams that can catch fire, like I said, towards the last month of the season. So watch out for the Kentucky Wildcats, but they need to be better defensively. I don't think they will. Number 23, Indiana State. This is a really, solid team. Who I think that, can, turn some heads. Robbie Avila, Illinois boy from Oak Forest High School. He's averaging 16 and 7, 4 assists, shooting 40% on three, 80% from the line. He's a great playmaker for them. I think that this team is they're one of two teams to rank in the top 15 in 2-point, 3-point, and free throw percentage. When you can score from all three levels and hit your free throws, down the stretch, you can be an effective team when it comes down to Florida, when it comes down to tournament play. And then round out the top 25, we got number 24, Florida Atlantic. Spoke about them a little bit. And the Oklahoma Sooners round out the top 25, ladies and gentlemen. And here we are, as it is a big, as it is a staple here on our college shows as we preview games to watch. I usually, with college basketball, there's games every day, but I usually like to call Saturday Super Saturday. And usually on Saturdays are some of the best games. Now, they have some of the best games during the week, but Saturday is where, there's some really great matchups, and we have some games to watch this weekend on Super Saturday. Starting out with number one, that is Texas Tech going up against Iowa State. This one is, Iowa State's favored by 8.5 points. Look, Iowa State, coming off of they're coming off of a win, I believe. 30 points. They beat Texas. They beat Texas Tech. Sorry about that. I'm getting my teams confused. Texas Tech coming off of a 29-point win against Kansas in the previous win. So they're coming in with some really good firepower. But like I said, man, Iowa State, has the playmakers on that side of the ball, and Tamin Livesey, that are Keshawn Gilbert, that can make Texas Tech life a living hell. But Texas Tech has another super sophomore in Pops Isaac, averaging, he's leading the team in points, 16.5 points per game, 3 rebounds, 3 assists for the Red Raiders. If I'm going to pick a team to win this game, I'm going to go with Iowa State at home. Texas Tech, this is a really big game. This is a quad one game. This is a really good game that can really stick out on their resume as they're trying to, make the tournament as a bubble team. I do believe their name will be called. They have enough wins, especially that big win against Kansas was a big win. If they could pull off this win against Iowa State, I mean it's hard for the committee to not call their name. I do believe that they will be a tournament team, but give me Iowa State to win this game at home against Texas Tech. Next game we got on the slate here, we got Texas going into number 3 Houston. And talk about a team in Texas that really needs this win. Texas Longhorns really need this win against the Houston Cougars. Do I believe that Houston's gonna win this game? Yeah, Houston is favored, right? Houston's one of the best defensive teams in the nation. But will I be surprised if Texas maybe wins and can outscore Houston? No, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Led by Max Abmas, the Texas Longhorns, have what it takes to beat the Houston Cougars. This is a bubble team. This is a team that is well coached. Dylan Dessou, who's had some struggles with injuries. He's back playing really good basketball. 16.9 points per game, 4 rebounds. But I mean, man, the Houston Cougars are a very tough team. They play the best defense probably in the Big 12. I think this is going to be a hell of a game. Texas really needs it. They're 9th in the Big 12 right now. They really need this game. They don't get many. You don't have many quad one games coming down the stretch here. Houston's favored by 10.5. I'm actually going to go with the points for Houston to win this basketball game as they beat the Texas Longhorns. Next game we got on the slate, we got number 6 Kansas. And now we have our 3-game stretch where we have, 3 top 25 opponents going against number 6 Kansas going up against number 25 Oklahoma. And look, Kansas just coming off of a big loss against Texas Tech. I think they're going to go into Oklahoma. They're going to make them feel it a little bit. Like I said, Kansas has all the firepower. But would I be surprised if they lose? I mean, no, not really. This is a rivalry game, Big 12 game. The spread's 1.5 right here against Oklahoma. And golly, they've lost 4 games in a row on the road. Yeah, I don't know, man. Kansas is has not been good on the road of late. They're facing an Oklahoma team that has 13-2 at home this season. I'm gonna go with Kansas though. I'm gonna go with Kansas. They have to get off the schneid on the road. In order to be a good tournament team, you got to learn how to win on the road. You got guys in Kevin McCullough, who's leading the Jayhawks and scoring. Hunter Dickinson, who's right behind him in 17 points per game over the last 10 games, leading them in rebounds. Give me the Kansas Jayhawks to win this basketball game against the Oklahoma Sooners. Even though I do believe in Oklahoma at home. Like I said, tough team, 13-2, led by Javion McCullum, Milos Uzan, who's, leading assists per game. And then defensively, Jalen Moore and Otega Owe, who is, one of their, better on-ball defenders. Jalen Moore, their leading blocks per game, get it with 1 per game. But, they're coming off Oklahoma's coming off a loss against Baylor, 79-62 at Baylor. Before that, good wins against BYU, 82-66. Oklahoma State, 66-62, some tough wins. In their last 5, they've won 3 out of their last 5. So, I do like Texas. I mean, I do like Kansas to still win this basketball game, regardless of the fact. Next game we got on the slate. We have the number 22 Kentucky Wildcats going in the number 13 Auburn. This is a big game for Kentucky. I think, they're going against one of the best defensive teams in the nation. It's going to be a tough matchup. It's going to be a close matchup for Auburn. I think you got stars all over the floor when it comes down to it. Auburn's an 8.5-point favorite at home. Boasting the top 25 defense. And like I said, look, man, Kentucky has, guys all over the field. Reed Shepherd, Antonio Reeves, who leads, the nation, who leads Kentucky in scoring. Rob Dillingham, who's a hell of a player, who's a bucket getter. Could pose some problems to Auburn, but I think if Auburn could keep those guys at bay, and not let them get hot, I think get back on, set up their defense, not let them get in transition. I think that this game will be an easy one for Auburn. Give me Auburn at home. And then we have our prime time matchup of the day. And this one is going to be a dandy, ladies and gentlemen. This is number 1 UConn. This is number 4 Marquette going into number 1 UConn. Man. This is going to be a hell of a game. Like I said, man, this matchup bodes well for UConn just because of their size. I mean, you got multiple, guys, with that are 6'11", 7 foot down there. You have guys that are, Stephon Castle, Spencer, guys in that brim that are, making plays all over the field, all over the court. I almost say field there for the UConn Huskies, and they're just playing great basketball. This and so is Marquette. Marquette's playing great basketball too, but I just think that UConn's playing even better basketball. so far. Um, Godly, I mean Tyler Kolek, I mean he's shooting 49.5%. He's averaging 16.1 points for the Eagles for the Golden Eagles. David Joplin averaging 2.7 made threes over his last 10 for Marquette. The Huskies, like I said, on that 10-game win streak, averaging 79.9 points per game, 37 rebounds, 18 assists, 5 blocks, so shooting 49% from the field. Their opponents have only averaged 63 points per game. That's a woof. That is a ouch. While Marquette is allowed, 70.7 points per game, while they've scored 79.8 points per game. But I just do believe, man, this Huskies team is just on they're on a mission to possibly repeat. They are a hell of a team, led by, like I said, man, they have, a great freshman, Stephon Casper, is probably going to get his name called in the draft. Alex Caravan, Tristan Newton, Donovan Clingan, Cam Spencer, all these guys. They have 5 guys that are averaging, in double figures, for them. They have guys all over the court. So yeah, give me the UConn Huskies to win this game. There's too much size. Donovan Clingan, 2 blocks per game is over 7-2. If you guys don't remember, Adama Sanogo went to the NBA draft, went pro. Donovan Clingan was that other 7-footer that was down there. Now he's taking over. You had the other kid that godly, I can't even remember his name. He's playing for the Milwaukee Bucks now. But he was Andre, I think it's Williams or whatever the case is. But they didn't have a point guard last year. He ended up mid-season, being their point guard, for them. So, hopefully I got that name right, because I'm over here just kind of moving a little fast here. Yeah. But anyways, with that being said, I got the UConn Huskies winning this ball game against the Marquette Golden Eagles. But I do believe Marquette can. I mean, look, Marquette could play outside. I mean, it's a tough one, man. Marquette could play outside. I think they have the shooters to do it, but I just think UConn just has the length, man. They just have the length, man. And honestly, I'm gonna be watching this one closely and watching this one very closely, because I do believe that the UConn Huskies probably are the best. They are the best team in the nation, hands down. I think they're better than Purdue. You want to say number 1, number 2, but I think that even UConn's a level up above Purdue, which is crazy to say, in a way. So it's something else. I'm trying to find who that point guard was, who the player is for the Bucks here. It just kills me. Andre Jackson. I said Andre Williams. Andre Jackson, who basically he's a forward, and they actually, mid-season, once they transferred him over and gave him the ball handling abilities, to be their pretty much their point forward, UConn took off last season, which was, pretty incredible run that they were on last season with Andre Jackson, Dama Sanogo and company. Then you bring back these same guys, add Stephon Castle, who's one of the best freshmen in the nation, to this team. It is just a match made in heaven, and just that cohesiveness of UConn is just pretty phenomenal when you look at it. But I think UConn is way ahead. I mean, I still think Purdue has flaws. I mean, you want to say Purdue is much more mature. But I mean, when you lose 3 years in a row to double-digit seeds, and you're a higher seed, I mean, that kind of wears on you. These are the same guys that are playing for Purdue. While UConn just won a national championship, they've won 10 in a row. They're playing some of the best basketball in the nation, probably the best basketball in the nation. The top 10 in offensive and defensive efficiency. They have size, they have shooting, they have playmakers, they have 3-level scorers. They have guys that can go get their own buckets. They have shot blockers, they have rebounders. They have length all over the court. And especially in this matchup against Marquette, it's just not a good matchup. And like when I say basketball, man, styles make matchups and styles make fights, styles make matchups. This is not a good style matchup for Marquette. Honestly, I don't even know what the spread is here. The spread is, let me see what the spread is on this game here. UConn by 6.5. I think UConn wins by double digits. If I'm a betting man, in which I am, I'm going UConn by 12. UConn 11.5. Mark it. Put it down. UConn winning by 11.5. I'll even put that bet in right now for you guys. Tell you how I did it the very next week. Tell you how I did it the very next week. Give me UConn by 11.5 against Marquette this weekend. Then we got our Naismith Player of the Year watch, similar to our Heisman rankings. Last month of the season, these are kind of fluctuate here, but I have my Players of the Year watch. Number 1, Zach Edey. Nobody's been playing better basketball than him pretty much all season. Well, there has been guys that are playing just as good basketball, but Zach Edey's been just dominant the last 2 years. He's going for back-to-back Player of the Years. Dalton Knecht from Tennessee, who has just been lights out score for them. He's number 2 on the list. And number 3, RJ Davis, sharpshooter from North Carolina, leading scorer for North Carolina. Number 4, Hunter Dickinson. Just mentioned him. He's averaging, 17 points per game in his last 10. He's kind of risen up the boards here in the rankings for the Heisman, for the Naismith Player of the Year. He leads Kansas in rebounds as well. Number 5, Armando Bacot, who's just, got 2 Carolina guys in here. Christian will be real happy right now. 2 guys from North Carolina in the top 5 in the Player of the Year watch. He's just not Armando Bacot, just a double machine, just real threat down there in the post. And then my dark horses, Carl Filipkowski from Duke, Tristan Newton from UConn, and Kevin McCullough from Kansas, who is the leading scorer for Kansas and the leading scorer in the Big 12. So he's a dark horse to win the Naismith Player of the Year. But anyways, folks, that has been this edition of College Basketball Madness. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast here at Prime Sports World as we bring the heat 24/7 here. And I do believe that next week we'll continue our NFL conference previews. So you guys aren't going to miss that hot content here. And like I said, in case you miss us, you catch us on all streaming platforms where podcasts can be heard. So please don't miss that hot content that Prime Sports World brings to you. And watch out for the website, as I will do a grand launching here sometime soon. It will be coming, so you guys don't want to miss that hot, up-to-date content, ladies and gentlemen. But as I sign off, and as I like to say, ladies and gentlemen, in case I missed you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Ladies and gentlemen, sayonara, sucker.